Good morning, July 22nd, 2025. Don Palayo checking in with you guys again. Oh boy. Um, there is a lot going on, and I just wanted to do a video about some of the concerns I have about what's going on out here in not only the United States, but globally. I saw a quote from Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook or Meta, um, and he's talking about AI, and he believes that AI will be taking over the jobs of coders in the next 18 months. 18 months, and he says the job that AI will do will be better than that of the engineers who are currently doing the coding. Um, like I don't know exactly where our world's going in terms, it's kind of hard to imagine, you know, we offshored a lot of our physical labor jobs overseas for the Chinese to do. We've brought in migrants to do a lot of the ones that were remaining, construction jobs and things like that here at home. And now we've got machines that are going to be doing all of the intelligence type work. What are people going to do? What are the rest of us going to be able to do for jobs? It's kind of getting to that point where it's like, I really don't know. It's like, I don't know if this is a good trend or not. It's like sometimes it just seems like the world was better when 100 years ago. You know what I mean? I saw another post that said that by 2030, we're talking 5 years from now, 40% of women will be single with no children. And it's just, I saw another quote that said that the average American cares more about their career. The career and their friendships are more important to them than having children or getting married. And it's like, wow, it's like we're on some bad. I don't know. The world, things change with time, and I haven't had the best luck with marriages. So I've been married twice, been divorced twice. I can understand why people might not want to get married. I mean, if you have, especially considering you have to be look at it from the point of view of a young person, from a millennial or from a Gen Z person, and you've seen all of these divorces, all these people who you've had friends whose parents have gotten divorced. You may have had parents get divorced. And it's just such a painful and difficult experience to go through. And it's like, you may wonder is it really worth getting married? It's like these days, it's like people are just different. This isn't our grandparents' generation. This isn't 100 years ago, 50 years ago. My parents are getting ready to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary in September. My parents got married in 1975. They're still married. They've had their trials and tribulations too, but they are still married, and so it's just kind of, and I grew up in a generation and in an environment where marriage was just kind of expected and desirable, and it just seems like that's gone. It's like that has been completely destroyed. It feels like it's like men and women are angry with each other, at each other's throats. Don't or there were a lot of different reasons why I went through my two divorces. My second marriage probably should not have happened. Actually, well, my first marriage, well, it's complicated. But it's complicated. Yeah. But, I've never regretted having children. I can understand people not wanting to get married. Not wanting to have children. Personally, I have a hard time with that one. I don't quite grasp that. I can understand maybe being concerned about the cost. Um, you know, some people are worried that they won't be able to spend much time with their kids because they're going to be working all the time. I mean, so I can understand that, especially if you don't have a husband and wife team. It's like it does make it kind of difficult, taking care of the kids. So we're not in good shape as a society right now. We're really, really not. Um, I have some major concerns where that's concerned. Um, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about the tariff issue, where it relates to to a higher cost of goods being sold right now. I know that Walmart, for example, Walmart sells a bunch of Chinese stuff, but they do sell some American-made stuff too, especially in their produce section and their grocery section. Um, but what so tariffs only should impact the cost of goods made overseas that we buy from China or we buy from wherever. If American goods shouldn't be subject to the tariffs. But what Walmart's doing is they're taking that cost of their tariffs and they're distributing it among all of the goods sold in their store, including the American-made goods. That way, the certain products don't get hit, are much, much higher. They can spread the cost out among all the goods in the store, which is going to cause everything's price to go up. But certain products would be more expensive if they hadn't done it that way. But my problem with this is that the whole purpose of the tariff, the whole reason that Trump is doing the tariffs is trying to get us less dependent on foreign goods and buying more American-made stuff. He wants to get people buying American. We need to get to making more things here in America. I've heard people complain. It's like, well, there's certain things that we don't grow here in the United States, which I understand. I agree. We don't grow a lot of coffee here in the United States. We don't grow a lot of bananas here in the United States. We don't grow most of the avocados that you get come from Mexico. It's like, so there are some avocados grown in California, but it's like, when we're going through periods like this, we may just have to use substitute for other things. We may have to look at our farmers markets a little bit more, look for ways to buying things more locally. There's ways that we can get through this. It's like I have felt like for a long time that we needed to get away from buying all this cheap Chinese stuff in our stores. This might be the time to start looking for other options, other alternatives. Some of the countries their tariffs aren't quite as heavy as the Chinese tariffs are. So maybe we could look at some other options, other countries where products are coming from that aren't hit as hard with the tariffs. We're just gonna have to really look for the essential things that we need, not so much our wants, and get through this period. And I'm hoping that with time over the next few years that we're going to begin to see more manufacturing, more production arise here in the United States. That's kind of the hope. They have found some information about the whole Russian collusion thing, and they're trying to go after Obama and his administration about coming up with this whole narrative about the Russian collusion thing. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm a Trump supporter, but I just want him focused on the problems we have now. I want his administration to be 100% focused on getting our economy going, getting, you know, I know what they're going to. That they would say that, if they don't do anything about this, it's not going to prevent some, other politicians from doing the same thing in the future. I can understand that, but we got to stop this infighting. It's like we have two political parties, but they're not supposed to be enemies. We're not supposed to be at each other's throats. That's not the purpose of our politics. Our politics is supposed to try to be debate back and forth and help to build a better country, build a better society where we're living. And it's like we just act like we hate each other, and it's like it's not productive. All of this stuff that we've been doing on either side, I mean, both sides have been doing it, and it's like it needs to stop. Just in that same vein, you know, there's a lot of different war zones going on around the world right now. You got Russia, Ukraine, you've got Israel and Gaza, you've got China threatening its neighbors. I think the average person, average people, civilians are sick of it. We're sick of our politicians getting us into these things. Putin has gotten Russia into this little situation over there. How many Russians have died because of Ukraine? It doesn't make any sense to me. How many Ukrainians have died too? It's like, so, for what? For what, really? Um, October 7th, a bunch of Israelis were killed. And so Israel had a right to respond to that. I know they're trying to clean out Hamas. They're trying to put the kibosh on Hamas. They're trying to destroy Hamas completely, and that's why they're still in there. But but the Palestinians have had to suffer because of the stupid people that they've had in charge of their government, of their political leadership. They put Hamas in control, and they're kind of reaping, unfortunately, the consequences of that decision. And it's like, it's unfortunate because Hamas has not allowed free elections since they took control. The Palestinians are going to the people need to take over the leadership of their country. They need to kick out Hamas and decide that they're going to live side by side with their neighbors in peace. Both peoples, if they could just get together, if they could just agree that they don't want to fight anymore, neither side, I mean, I don't think either side is really, the people just want to have peace and prosperity. It's like, it's just always the politicians that create this mess. So the governments really need to start listening to their people more. We're sick of it. We're sick of it. We don't want these wars anymore. We want a prosperous society. We want to be cooperative with our neighbors, learn to work together with our neighbors to benefit both sides, to benefit, Russia and Ukraine should be fairly, allied. You would think that they could come up with something better than what they're doing right now. This war, it's just not an ideal situation. I think there's a lot of ego from the politicians, from the leaders, and a lot of maybe desire for control or expansion of their border. It's just not worth it. I've said this before. Russia didn't need to expand land-wise. They already have a huge territory. But what they needed more than anything was more development in their country. There's a lot of areas of their country that aren't very well developed, and they need dollars and resources to be able to, or money, in order to do that. And all they've done is chased foreign investment away, and it'll be decades before they ever get any of it back, except maybe from China. And China's not doing that well itself financially. They've got a lot of their own problems to deal with. They don't have a lot to help Russia. So I um I just think that all of these things could have been resolved in a much more civil manner. Um, respect, mutual respect, each side respecting the other. Um, and they're just refusing to do that, and it's unfortunate. And I think the people are suffering. The civilians populations are getting killed along with the soldiers, and it's time for the political leaders to stop this bull crap. It's like it's time to stop it. um anyway, that's just my rant for the evening. I just this isn't None of this is helping. It's not making the world a better place. All we're doing, our society right now is just screwing the world up more and more and more, it feels like. um I understand what Trump is trying to do with the tariffs, but I think that they should do more to help average people than they're doing right now. um when it comes to the student loan situation, I understand them wanting people to pay back what they borrowed. That makes sense. But can we do it to where people are already hurting financially, or already struggling financially to pay the bills that they already have? And couldn't they find a way of making the interest rates on the student loans more palatable? It's like these interest rates on these student loans. People are seeing their balances go up more than it's like they're going to be paying on it forever. And can't we? Isn't there something the government could do to get the interest rates on these loans to a more reasonable percentage? It's like, right now I think the average student loan is what, like around 7%, 8%. It's like that's for a student loan. That's just too to me. That's too much. I think those rates should be down in the low single digits, 2 to 3%. To me, would be more, and it might require some sort of government subsidy to do that. But it's just, if we want an educated and a skilled workforce, those are just investments that we should be willing to make, in terms of that. But I'm not saying pay the loans for them, but we should be able to get them interest rates which are fairly reasonable and more manageable. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm just having a lot of thoughts about a lot of things tonight. It's just, I don't feel like the world's in a very good place right now, and I worry about more continued violence, especially when people are hurting financially. You'll start seeing more crime when governments are struggling, when they're worried about losing their grip on power. They may tend to become more violent. Sometimes that will motivate them to start more military adventures. um, it's just not worth it. We need to be able to learn to cooperate a little bit more. Learn how, we got to start making some deals. Learn to negotiate. We may have to, there may be trade-offs, but we need to learn how to so that both sides can benefit from the relationship. It's like, it doesn't have to be a 100% win for one side. um anyway, these are my thoughts tonight. You guys let me know what you think. I'm going to check out this. I don't know. I feel there's just I feel like something bad is getting ready to happen in the world, a global conflict of some sort. It feels like we're just ripe for something like that. I was watching. I was watching a documentary about World War One and how that got kicked off, and I don't know. I'm feeling more and more like we're on the edge of something like a major global military conflict. Um, I hope not, but I can't help but feel like we're approaching something like that happening, and we'll just see what happens. I'm hoping that things will calm down a little bit. I'm hoping for a better world for our kids and my, I've got two daughters, and I want a better world for them. I don't want them to have to grow up in that sort of mess. So that's my video for the evening. You guys have a great one. I'm going to be going to bed pretty soon, and I will try to put out another video again soon. Have a good one.